Hello, welcome to today's video on budget and premium top 3 defender picks. Now, budget I'm classing as 4 million to 5 million defenders, and premium I'm classing as 5.5 million and up. I'll also go through some players that just missed out on those top 3 places who I think are still good picks, but just not in my top 3. Just a quick showing of my website that I have as well. So this is my website where I sell FPL themed and retro football themed things like mobile phone cases, shirts, mugs, things like that. Feel free to check it out. Let's get straight into today's video. So I'll just go through a brief honorable mentions selection for the budget defender picks. So first off, no Tierney for me in my top 3 here. Yes, he's attacking at a promising Euros. Arsenal should do a lot better this season, but that's not obviously nailed. But a no from me for Tierney because he's a little bit injury prone. Arsenal aren't particularly solid defensively. So for my defenders, I do look for attacking returns. That is obviously very important for defender picks too, as well as every other position. But you want to get those clean sheets squared away. And I don't see that coming from Arsenal, especially in the fixtures. In the first 3 games, they've got Chelsea and they've got Man City. So that is a no for me. Lamptey always looks threatening, looks a real good guy going forward. Brighton, okay defensively, but no, because again, another player who's injury prone. He doesn't have even like half a Premier League season under his belt, and he is likely to miss the start of this season as well. Fofana misses out in the budget section. Great price for a top 6 defender, 4.5 million, but I don't, again, going back to clean sheets, Leicester are a top 6 side. I just don't see them as a reliable source of clean sheets. Plus, he's a centre-back. We usually prefer to get those wing-back positions. Going forward as well, Ayling, Leeds, solid defensively. Should be nailed in that Leeds side, but no, because in terms of attacking threat, he doesn't really bring it. And again, I'm looking for, of course, solid clean sheets from my defenders, but I do want that attacking intent as well. And also, just a side note for Ayling, he actually is a defender that gives away the most errors, leading to a chance for the opposition. So not so much against your FPL points, but just a little side note there. Also, a player who just missed out, who's getting a lot of traction in this preseason, is Alt-Nouri at Wolves. Great price at 4.5 million. Preseason, he's basically left winger. He's not even left back. He's more like left winger for Wolves at the moment. But no for me because, one, opening games aren't particularly easy for Wolves. They've got a brand new manager. He's not nailed, and he's only got 1,400 minutes of Premier League football. I've already said in other videos on this channel and other channels that I want to start the season with players that I know, players that are nailed, players that I can rely to start the season with. I just don't think he's got it. Someone who is reliable who just misses out though, Connor Cody, again at Wolves, very consistent, plays almost every minute of Premier League football for Wolves. But again, not there with the attacking threat. There with a new manager. They weren't defensively solid. Too solid last season. But again, new manager. Difficult opening fixtures. Not one for me going into that one as well. And one that I would look at though, but I just don't know who, would be a Spurs defender. Again, it's another team with a new manager, but we do know Nuno Santos because we've seen him at Wolves. But with Alderweireld, apparently has gone to, I think, a team in Qatar. You can pick up a Spurs centre-back for 4.5 million, or you can pick up one of their fullbacks for 5 million. But the key for this, for the Spurs defender, is we don't know who that backline is going to be. We're not too sure about that formation, but Spurs are usually a top 6 side, arguably even a top 4 side. So I do think for value, a 4.5 million centre back from Spurs or a 5 million wing back from Spurs is actually a good choice. That's why I think a few people are looking at the likes of Doherty again, but it's a little bit too unknown again. New manager, not sure on the formation. I don't want to start with players that I can't really rely on clean sheets, but I don't know how they're going to set up. But definitely Spurs defense, I think, is one to keep an eye on. So let's go into the players that I have decided to choose as my top 3 budget picks for defenders. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Kufal. West Ham, 5 million. Great opening fixtures against Newcastle. Leicester is difficult, but overall West Ham opening, I think 8 fixtures are pretty solid. And then the third one there, Palace at home. So they've got actually a strong opening, 10 fixtures. And whilst Cresswell on the left side does seem to rack up more of a threat. Kufal by himself has got 9 assists down that right side, so 128 points last season, 9 clean sheets, 12 bonus points, and he's up there with the attacking stats that you want from, I said earlier, I don't really look at centre-backs, I look more at full-backs, so 7th most successful crosses, 5th most chances created, and it's behind the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Shaw, Robertson, and his teammate Cresswell, who is a bit more expensive, 5th for big chances created, and 4th for assists, especially towards the end of the back end of last season. He was getting stronger and stronger, and I think for 5 million, just a little bit cheaper than Cresswell, puts Kufal in the top 3 for me. Arguably, I think he's the best budget pick for 5 million under for the start of the season. Moving on to Dunk, there was a little bit of worry on Twitter because it came out that he's had a toe operation, but that was towards the back end of last season. It's more about recovery. He might miss a bit of preseason, but I'm not worried about him not starting the season here. So Brighton, 5 million. Great opening 8 fixtures here for Burnley. For Brighton. They've got Burnley away first game of the season, then Watford, then Everton. So the first 8 games for Brighton are actually pretty good. So if you're looking to wildcard within the first 8 game weeks, I think you can start the season with Dunk and keep him until you want to use that first wildcard. He's defensively sound, but again, he is a centre back, which I said earlier I kind of tend to avoid, but he has that attacking threat. So he got 130 points last season, 11 clean sheets, 17 bonus points, which is really solid. But he got the second most amount of goals as a defender with 5 goals. So Dallas was by far and large the best defender last season, especially budget, because he was out of position, right? But as an actual defender, Dunk got the most goals. He got the most headed goals in the league with 4 for defenders, 2nd for big chances, and 2nd for most headed chances. So when I said earlier about we kind of look for wing backs for that assist potential, but in terms of an attacking threat and a goal threat, Dunk is probably the best centre back for that. So he's the one anomaly that sort of breaks that rule of going for wing backs over centre backs. And I think for 0.5 million, Sanchez at 4.5 as a goalkeeper, maybe a double up could be on for those first 8 fixtures until that first wild card. But for me, when I compare Lamptey to Dunk, I do think Dunk is worth that extra 0.5 million. And then finally, the third option here is Target, 5 million. Sorry, it says Arsenal there. He obviously plays for Aston Villa. His first fixtures, Watford, Newcastle, Brentford. I think we all know that the first 3 fixtures for Aston Villa are fantastic. But going back to Target himself, most points for a budget defender last season. So he was the highest one for 5 million and under, 138 points, 9 bonus, 4 assists, 16 clean sheets. Remember, Martinez, 5.5 million behind him. You can get Target for 5 million, 6th for most crosses of all defenders, 8th most successful as well for those crosses, 9th for most chances created, and 2nd most amount of minutes, just behind Robertson of Liverpool. So if you're looking for a nailed fullback, I think Target's the one. But again, to start the season with the last season's best budget defender, someone who plays, almost every minute, it's the 2nd most in defense. And those opening 3 fixtures, Watford, Newcastle, Brentford, I think are absolutely fantastic for Target. So if you don't want to stretch for 5.5 million, Martinez in goal, I don't think 5 million for Target is too bad. So you can see that my top 3 premium picks on the screen now. We'll go into those first. Let's talk about the ones that just missed out. So first up, Robertson. For me, he's just behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's 0.5 million cheaper. So I think genuinely the double up of Trent and Robbo is certainly an option, because I do feel that Robbo at 7 million can outscore pretty much every midfielder or striker potentially for 7 million and below for that same price bracket. But if I had to choose one of the two, I just think Trent just gets ahead of Robertson on that. We'll talk about that more when we get on to Trent later on. Another one he missed out, I talked about him earlier, Cresswell. Excellent season. 3rd most points of all defenders last season with 153. But for me, he needs consistent seasons. He's 0.5 more expensive than Kufal. And it just feels as though I need more consistency from West Ham in general. They've had one amazing season, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to bring it into this season. And I just think for 5.5 million, I'd prefer Luca Dean or Luke Shaw over Cresswell. Despite good fixtures, it is incredibly close. I do still think he's a very good option, but I wouldn't double up on West Ham defence. And if I had to choose between Kufal and Cresswell, I'd go for Kufal. Up next as well, Chilwell and Chelsea defence in general. Really solid defensively, but I just don't know who's going to play, Chilwell or Alonso, or rotation, because it felt like last season there was quite a bit of rotation in those fullback positions. Same with likes of Reece James. I just don't know who's going to always be playing in that Chelsea defence. Also, tough opening 6 fixtures for Chelsea. They've got Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs and City. 4 tough fixtures in the first 6 games. So maybe some people to bring in after that first wild card or after those initial 6 games, not maybe defensively to start the season with. Wan-Bissaka finished ahead of Shaw last season, who is in my top 3 picks. But I just feel the same price, 5.5 million for Wan-Bissaka, 5.5 million for Luke Shaw. I just feel, again, I'm not going to double up on United defense, but I just feel as though Shaw has that bigger potential. I think Wan-Bissaka stays fitter. I think he plays more minutes. I just think the higher ceiling is there for sure over Wan-Bissaka. You can see Diaz is in my top 3 picks. Maybe a surprise, but I'll get to him later. But Cancelo plays for the champions, most clean sheets. He's basically a winger or midfielder when he does play for Man City, but that is the key word, when. I struggle with Man City players, with some of the Man City players, because I just can't stand Pep Roulette. Cancelo can have a fantastic game. He can go out there and he can get 2 assists and a goal, and then he won't play the next 2. There's just no real consistency there. So Cancelo is a fantastic option if you've got a good bench or good backup. If he's going to get rotated out, I think Cancelo is a really great choice. I just cannot deal with him being rotated quite often. And then finally, the one who really just missed out for me is Luca Dean. 5.5 million. I think he's a fantastic option. I think Everton have a great opening 10 fixtures. They've got a new manager in Rafa Benitez, which could be negative, could be positive, but I think Rafa is defensively solid and does rely on his wing back. So he really does just miss out for this. He's likely on set pieces, like maybe the occasional free kick or corners as well. He was genuinely so close to my top 3. Diaz is the one that just pipped in front of him. He got 9 assists and 9 clean sheets and 18 bonus points. So I think he's a really strong option, and he's 0.5 million cheaper than Diaz, but I will come on to him now. So let's go on to the 3 players I did choose for my premium. So why Diaz, not Luca Dean? He's 0.5 more expensive. And it's simple. It's kind of a boring pick. He plays for Man City, who get the most clean sheets. He's a centre-back. He's not even the wing-back. But if we look at Manchester City, who is nailed in that side? As nailed as you can be in a Manchester City Pep Guardiola side. You've got Edison, the goalkeeper. You've got Diaz in defence. And then third, I would say, would be Kevin De Bruyne in terms of the 3 strongest picks for Man City in terms of them getting played, not rotated. So, yes, it's not particularly exciting. But if you've got a player that can get you 6 points almost every week, they add up. So he only got 1 goal. He only got 1 assist. He plays centre-back. He's not really up there in terms of goal threat or shots on target or anything like that. But he's similar to why I think Edison is a good option, and it's purely down to clean sheets. So if you just want to bring a player in like Luca Dean is infamous or famous for being a player that 1 week will get you 18 points, and then for the next 3 weeks will get you -1, 1, 0, 1. And then he'll get 15 points. Whereas Diaz is someone who's just going to tick along in your team nicely. He's going to get 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 2, 2, 6, 6. So for me, he just basically through clean sheets. He got 1 goal and 1 assist, like I said earlier, but he came 5th with 142 points. So I think for 6 million, 142 points, genuinely isn't too bad for someone who's just going to tick along and get you those clean sheets. And I think for the next player, I don't really need to talk about him that much. Maybe 7.5 million price tag might put a few people off, but Trent Alexander-Arnold, 7.5 million, plays for Liverpool. He's got Norwich, Burnley and Chelsea in the opening 3. I think Liverpool's opening 6 fixtures are incredibly solid. I said earlier, with Van Dijk coming back, Konate signing as well for Liverpool. Defensively, they might be a lot better. Last season, I don't think there's anyone really could argue that Trent Alexander-Arnold last season had a few patches where he genuinely looked awful. Yet he finished second, 1 point behind the top scoring defender, Robertson, at Liverpool. So we talked last season about how bad Liverpool were, how many goals they conceded, but still, number 1 and number 2 defenders, it's Robertson number 1 and Trent number 2. He finished second, 1 point behind Robertson, but he played 355 minutes less than Robertson. So 1 goal, 8 assists, 19 bonus. The first half of the season, he looked awful. But the second half of the season, he looked essential. He looked absolutely fantastic. So 7.5 million is a lot to pay, but I just feel 7.5 million Trent outscores 8 million and under in every other position. Goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, forward. So I do think he's a really incredibly strong pick. And again, I said earlier, he is just ahead of Robertson. It's really, really close. I think he's worth the 0.5 million more, but I genuinely am not against a Liverpool defense double up. I started the season last season with the Liverpool double up at the back. Obviously, that was horrific. I think this season might be a little bit better. Finally, going on to Luke Shaw. 5.5 million. Manchester United's got Leeds, Southampton, Wolves. But yes, of course, big asterisk, big star for this one. Injury dependent, because of course he played the Euros. Apparently he broke his ribs. We're not sure right now if he's going to start the season, but if he is, I genuinely think he's a fantastic choice. So he only got 124 points total, but don't take that as face value. He only played 2,653 minutes. The back end of last season is when he really grew into this huge assist potential player. I think he's always had it. We always saw potential in Luke Shaw. It definitely felt like the second half or the final third of last season is where he grew and grew. He had an amazing Euro competition with England in the 2020 competition just gone in this summer. I think it's fantastic. He scored in the final, huge confidence boost. But now we look at the defense that they've got, right? So Varane looks very, very likely to sign for Manchester United. So you've got Wan-Bissaka solid on that right side, more defensive. So the left back, Luke Shaw, is the more attacking player. Wan-Bissaka is the more defensive one. Maguire and Varane as his centre-back partners. So in the past, it felt like Man United not particularly reliable in terms of clean sheets, but that defense to me screams clean sheets, especially with the fixtures that United have got for the opening, say 6, for that first wildcard, which you might use within the first 10 game weeks. If he's fit, you've got Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, Shaw. So am I getting those clean sheets? I said that is one of the first things I look for in a defender, obviously. Yes, there is big clean sheet potential there. And then you look at his assist potential. So in the final 8 games, he was third for chances created behind Trent, who's way out number 1. Final 8 games of the season, Trent was far ahead of every other defender for chances created. Also, joint third for successful crosses. And again, Trent was well out in front. So in terms of stats and the last sort of 8 to 10 games, Trent far above everyone else. But Shaw is in that top 3 as well for 5.5 million. So more signings defensively for Manchester United to solidify those clean sheet potential points that I could get. But also in terms of attack, I think Shaw's got it as well. So these are my 3 choices. Let's just get into the final ending card. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. If you like what you saw and you want to check out my goalkeeper video, that is just up there. And if you liked it, maybe leave a like and subscribe just down here. Also coming up soon, of course, we'll be looking at top 3 budget and premium midfield and forward picks as well as an updated draft video, hopefully coming to you guys very soon. Let me know in the comments below who your top 3 budget and premium picks are, or who are you looking to avoid, or who would you recommend not starting the season with, and why in defense. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, have a good one.